People imagine family conflicts as loud explosions, shouting, slammed doors, someone storming away. Mine ended with a single sentence spoken so calmly that nobody realized, at first, everything had changed. Sunday dinners at my mother's house always followed the same routine. The smell of roasted chicken drifted through the kitchen, while a lavender candle burned on the counter, a habit Mom never skipped. My stepfather, Victor Hayes, dominated every conversation. He spoke with complete certainty, as if every opinion he had was already a proven fact. Across the table, my stepbrother Brandon smiled through the praise he received every week. He lived nearby, visited often, and loved talking about promotions he expected to get long before they actually happened. Victor admired him endlessly. I was different. My job kept me traveling most weeks, so I rarely made it home. When I did, I mostly listened. Over the years, silence had become my safest response. Arguing with Victor never accomplished anything. That evening, Victor was telling another story about Brandon helping a friend move into a new apartment. "That's what dependable people do," he said while cutting his chicken. "Some people show up, others just drift through life." He never looked directly at me. He didn't have to. Mom quietly ate her dinner without interrupting. Brandon gave his usual modest shrug, pretending the compliments embarrassed him. Victor leaned back in his chair and smiled. "You'll never be half the man Brandon is." The words landed softly, almost casually. For years I would have ignored them. Instead, I placed my fork beside my plate, looked him in the eyes, and answered without raising my voice. "Good." The room went silent. Then I added the sentence that changed everything. "Let Brandon pay your bills from now on, because I'm done." Nobody reacted right away. Victor frowned as though he had missed the point of a joke. Brandon looked from me to him, confused. But my mother's expression changed completely. She wasn't angry. She looked genuinely puzzled. "What are you talking about?" Linda asked quietly. "You haven't been giving us money." I stared at her for a second, certain I had misunderstood. "I haven't?" She slowly shook her head. "No, we know you've been busy with work. Brandon has been helping whenever we've struggled." Brandon blinked in surprise. "I have?" The room suddenly felt smaller. For 6 years, Victor had been sending me updates whenever the house needed help. A mortgage payment that came up short, a broken water heater, property taxes, roof repairs after a storm. He had insisted everything go through one joint account because, according to him, it made managing expenses easier. I never questioned it. Sometimes I transferred $1,000. Other times it was nearly $3,000. I never expected thanks. I believed I was helping my mother. Without saying another word, I unlocked my phone and opened my banking app. Months of transfers filled the screen. Each payment carried a note. Mortgage balance, water bill, roof repair. Don't worry about paying me back. I slid the phone across the table. Mom leaned closer, reading each transaction one by one. Brandon walked around his chair to stand behind her. Neither of them spoke. Victor remained frozen. Finally, Mom whispered, "How much have you sent?" I let out a slow breath. I honestly stopped keeping track. Victor cleared his throat. "Those weren't gifts," he said quickly. "They were temporary loans." No one answered. The payment notes on the screen told a completely different story, and for the first time in years, Victor's confidence disappeared. Brandon finally broke the silence. "You told Mom I was the one covering these expenses?" His voice wasn't angry, it was confused. Victor shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "That's not exactly what I said." But nobody believed him. Mom remained focused on my phone, scrolling through years of transfers with trembling fingers. Every payment erased another piece of the story she thought she knew. It was as if the last 6 years had suddenly been translated into a language she could finally understand. "I didn't know," she whispered. I nodded. I figured. There was no satisfaction in saying it. Only exhaustion. I never sent the money because I wanted credit, I said calmly. I did it because I thought you needed help. But I'm finished. Victor looked at me differently now. The familiar expression of superiority was gone. For the first time, he seemed uncertain, as though he were trying to recalculate everything he believed about me. You're overreacting, he muttered. Even he didn't sound convinced. No one returned to their dinner. Brandon quietly grabbed his jacket and left without another word. Victor stayed seated, staring at the table where his version of the truth had fallen apart. A few minutes later, I walked toward the front door. Mom followed me outside. She stood beside the porch light, holding the edge of the doorway. I should have asked more questions, she said softly. The regret in her voice sounded real. I looked back at the house before meeting her eyes again. Maybe, I answered, but none of this changes now. She lowered her head without arguing. I walked to my car as the cool night air settled around me. For years, I had carried a burden no one else could see. Now the truth belonged to everyone. And strangely, that was enough.